Hello, everyone, and welcome to our after church tea time. I'm really happy to discuss our Sunday service with you all today. And this one is about spiritual enlightenment. What are your major takeaways from it?
I think my major takeaway from it was how important it is to follow your heart and really allow yourself to show up authentically. You really touched on letting go of, in a sense, what we think we have to do or what we think we should do based off of what society or family says that we should, and really following what feels best to our highest good. I love the story that you told about Jeff and ordering a pizza, and the gentleman talking about how he consistently is like on autopilot, which is really what the world is on for most part. And before coming to my spiritual awakening and coming to this community, I remember feeling just that. And I could recall there being a time where I was just like, there's so much more for me than what I'm doing right now. And I don't know how to get there. And I'm not sure what that looks like, but I don't want to live my life this way. And very shortly, I came to the community. And so I really love that uh, we're that powerful to be able to start asking questions to where our reality will start to shift in order to bring the answers to us. And so that felt really supportive and relieving, and in a sense, that's manifestation of um, being able to make a choice within yourself that you don't want to align with something anymore and align to something higher. And then everything in your reality will start to align to that choice. And you're able to really call in what you truly, truly desire at your core instead of following the herd, is what I would call it. You always see those memes of everyone walking in one direction and then you have the one person walking the other direction. And it can feel a little lonely at times. And so that's why I'm so grateful that we have a community here. But ultimately, my big takeaway was really just following your heart and being authentic to yourself and trusting the process and trusting that you're completely supported the entire way.
Yeah, I really love that. And, it reminds me of that sleepwalking energy I sometimes find myself in, where I'm just like, moving from responsibility to responsibility. And what Jeff and Shaleia shared in today's group coaching class, that nowadays people only spend 2 minutes a day talking to friends. And in the past, it has been like 1 hour, because everyone is so busy. Yeah, it's really important to take time every day for friends, for yourself, and so that there's a work-life balance really.
Yeah, that was beautiful. But before we move on, Fabian, are we live streaming?
Yeah.
Yeah, just checking. Okay. So yeah, what I got from the sermon was about being in tune with how you're feeling and unexpressed feelings, being numb to your feelings. I've been perhaps a little bit hard on myself the last couple of weeks because I've had this great big cold that absolutely everyone's had. So it's more difficult to feel my feelings. It's a little bit more difficult to do inner work. And so you don't have to force yourself during these times because you always think, well, I should be doing more. I should be doing more inner work. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. But you've got to be compassionate with yourself. Because if you've kept on top of feeling your feelings and doing your inner work, when a little hiccup like this comes along, you can treat it like a release. And yeah, and in terms of choosing to feel your feelings, knowing that it's safe to feel your feelings, So a lot of people are afraid to go deeper. A lot of people are afraid to go in because they're afraid of what they'll find. They're afraid they're going to find, I don't know, monsters in there or something. And it's not actually the case. There's nothing to be scared of in there. You're not going to come across anything new and scary. You already know what feelings you've got to work through, because they're the same feelings that you've been having for the whole journey. It's just stuff that don't feel good. And so it's just going in there and facing it in there. And well, the empty life thing, like the robot behavior, the Matrix was mentioned. Yeah, and life purpose as well. When I used to live up north, I would be painting all the time, painting at parties, just painting. And people would say to me, well, for me, I just want to go to work and come home for the weekend. And I thought, no, that's a horrible way to live. I mean, they give people caffeine throughout the week to make them work harder, and a little bit of alcohol at the weekend to dull them down a little bit. It's very matrixy, makes one very easy to control. So I don't want to get into that too much. But also feeds in. It's like sometimes when you're young, you're encouraged to do things that don't align with who you are. I was actually thinking about this the other day, Fabienne. I mean, how many boys out there don't like football?
Mm-hmm.
And they get given footballs by their parents for every birthday.
Right. Yeah, that's a good example, actually. Because my father is like really into soccer or football, you know. And I tried it on, but it's really not for me, you know. So I definitely had to learn this lesson of it's okay if that's not my thing, you know. And I guess my father had to learn this as well, that well, my son is not going to be a professional soccer player.
Yeah. The problem I had with my mum was like she was, well, I'm me, and you're also me, and that led to a lot of unhappiness. And I'm going to quote my cousin here. I've quoted him to you before. You said he was beautiful and profound. So I told him that, and it made his day. He shouted to his wife, Fabienne said that what I said was beautiful and profound. But he said, you can't live somebody else's life. If you try and force people to change, you lose them. And it's true. I mean, people have to learn that you're not going to take their crap if they want to stay in your life. Yeah, it's like the people that say, "Be yourself," but not like that.
Absolutely, that's beautiful. Even if you are, you know, if you pretend to be someone else and you receive acknowledgement for it, it's not you receiving that acknowledgement. It's just a mask of you receiving acknowledgement. So it's really important to be yourself, and you will feel rewarded automatically being yourself, and you will also attract the right people and right opportunities for you that vibe with you. You know,
And it's the only way your twin flame's going to recognize you. That who you are is who they want, who they love. You don't have to be anyone else.
Yeah, you touch on masking there, which is another form of numbing out, of not really honoring who you are at the core. And for me, I had very similar upbringing in a sense of I had a stepfather, and he would always try to control situations. And so in order for us to connect, I would have to do a sport or play like basketball, even though I was a dancer and I loved doing those things. And so in order to connect, I would do the thing that I didn't want to do, but it really just built resentment and just sadness, not only towards him, but myself, because it was like, I don't really want to be here. I don't really desire to do this. And to have the connection wasn't actually worth sacrificing who I was at the core and what I truly desired for myself. And so really letting go of these masks are another way of letting go of numbing and truly choosing love at the core.
Wow. Yeah, I could really resonate with that and with all of what you shared. And what I got is definitely like you learn to listen to your heart instead of the voice of fear. Right. Also, like Jeff and Shaleia shared in the group coaching class today, right, about this topic that, what did Jeff say? Like, as soon as you address like fear, or the concern of fear, there comes a new concern up. So it will never stop, right? This voice of fear will kind of like trying to trap you into like letting go of who you are. And so it's kind of this hero's journey, right? That we are all like on, and we're always on. And but now you learn to not listen to how you have to be, right? This 9-to-5 job, or like how our parents maybe were listening to fear and to be in the system of control, and but to be your true self. And it's really like when you start this teaching of union, that all the puzzle pieces, right, come together of who you really are. And it feels so good to recognize, like, without any fears, like you can express yourself differently, right, authentically suddenly. I had always like expression blocks, or also like you all shared in a way you were not, you couldn't connect with others, right? When you, for example, saw synchronicities, or you were treated like an alien, kind of like they didn't see it, or they didn't get like how you think. And so I felt like an alien before I came to the community, and suddenly everybody's like me, is on the same journey, and you feel at home. And I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, you're not weird anymore, but that's your true self, right? And it's what I really love about this teaching, that it will never end, right? To perfect union, you can learn, you can speak about everything. There is no taboo topic. It's also what I love, right? Everything will come up in the classes from TIFAs, from LPC. You learn to speak about everything. There's no fear to addressing something what maybe family members were uncomfortable to speak about, or where you had to hide yourself. So yeah, I'm really happy that I'm here with you all to come more to my divine self. So this enlightening journey, it's really cool.
I agree, it's beautiful. And yeah, you know, when these fear thoughts come up, like definitely talked about, like you shine a light to it, you know, you inquire, well, why are you saying that? Where is this coming from? You know, and then there's no substance behind it, you know, because there's nothing there, just a shadow. And it reminded me of these because Rachel mentioned also like a monster, the fear monster, you know. When you look at it, it might not even be there, or you might find a hurt part of yourself that needs love and a hug, you know. And I just saw in my mind this image of, do you know this movie like The Monsters Inc? It has like this huge, cute, fluffy monster.
Foley and Mikey.
Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it has this like popular GIF floating around the internet with this hug, you know, this this monster hugging you. And this is like an image that came up because that's what you will experience if you go there and you shine your light into it.
I love that analogy. Yeah, it is a lot of the times, if not all the times, when you look at the fear, it really is my favorite acronym for it is fake evidence appearing real. And so when you look at that space and you truly bring that light and your love to it, you recognize like, oh, this fear wasn't really as big as I thought it was going to be. And really it's like trying to protect you ultimately. And a lot of the fears that I feel that I've moved through, a lot of them I picked up from childhood. They're just what I saw and how my parents moved through their own process. But ultimately always chose fear. And because we're such powerful divine beings and manifestors, they would always manifest the fear because that was where their energy and their focus went on. And so as a child, you just take on the belief that all of these bad things are going to happen when a fear comes up because you've seen it play out, because that's what they chose. Like your choice is so powerful, and that's what the work really shows us, is how powerful our choice is, and that we can really choose love and to have really beautiful things manifest and appear in our world instead of the opposite. But ultimately it is having to go into that space and be courageous enough to know that there's only love on the other side. That used to really frustrate me at the beginning of my journey. I was like, just go into it, move through the block. There's only love on the other side. And I was like, I don't feel any love right now. Like, I don't want to go into this. But the more that I really allowed myself to practice and persist, I finally got to this place where I'm just like, okay, we're going to work through this because there's only love on the other side and it's going to be just fine. So really being able to know that, in a sense, for me, I recognize that fear could be my friend because it was just pointing to the place that desired my attention and love. Instead of seeing it as this horrible monster, I chose to befriend it, and it allowed my journey to be much more compassionate and easier.
Kanisha, your nails are amazing.
Thank you.
I don't know how you can turn the TV on, but they're amazing. Yeah, yeah, when it comes to fears and parents choosing fear, I had a bit of an experience yesterday. It's like I told my mum that my dad had said that perhaps the dentist I use would be a little bit cheaper than the one that they use. And so I told mum, and she started crying and said, I thought something bad had happened to you. I mean, that's quite an extreme example, but it's like she's almost willing for something bad to happen. And yeah, that's no way to live your life. But you're not responsible for somebody else's choices, just your own. Yeah, when it comes to fears, like as you said a minute ago, fake evidence appearing real. Yeah, somebody commented on my YouTube channel under a meme that I posted, which featured two people skydiving, and she said, "Oh, it's amazing you chose that image because that's how scary the journey is." But it doesn't have to be. You do have to face your deepest fear about love in order to move through it and have your union. But if you can actually stand up to your fear and be present with it instead of running away from it, like we've all done many times before, if you can look at it in the eye, then you realize that the fear all along was an illusion and there was nothing but love there for you all along. Even if it didn't feel like it at the time, as Kanisha said, there comes a point where you do realize that love was with you the whole time. The flame was with you the whole time. Everything was always going really, really well. If you persist, you can't fail. It's going to take longer for some people than it will do for others because it depends on what kind of blocks you have. But whatever your journey looks like, whatever your blocks look like, persistence, the inner work, is what's going to get you through them the quickest.
Yeah, I just can add like to the topic of fear. Like, for example, as a child, I was like on a swing with spiders right on my neck. I enjoyed that. And then suddenly people around you were afraid of spiders, for example, right? And you took that on, like this fear, like this screaming voice. It's like how you shared before that, or Kanisha said it, if I remember right, that you take that on, right? The fear from the people around you. And also like with the monster, I remember Jeff once said, it's kind of like this ghost under your bed. This is not there, right? As a child, sometimes you felt like, oh my gosh, there might be a ghost under my bed, but it's not real. And I also love like to say sometimes to clients, when you have a dream about fear, the meaning is in truth, so much success is waiting for you, right? It's kind of often the opposite of what it means. Yeah, and also like with the slide, kind of like the surrender into love, like Kanisha shared, right? That you're maybe afraid to let go of the block or the fear. It's really similar when you go on a slide, you cannot really hold on, right? You have to let go and to have fun, right, on the slide. And God is there with open arms and to learn that more and more. Yeah, that's also kind of sometimes the challenge for me, right? I feel that it's really letting go of, like Jeff and Shaleia shared it in the class with the swimming pool, right? You cling on the edge of the pool instead of surrendering into the warm water, into the love that is always surrounding you. Yeah, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, it's really like this Pilgrim's Progress, right? Also the movie that Jeff and Shaleia share, like to not allow distraction from the gambler or like people around you, but focusing on the light only, and it will get easier and easier. Yeah.
Yeah, as you touched on that, the thought that I heard was that a lot of the fear is that you are the upset and that you're identifying being your upset. And for me, that was ultimately one of the things that I had to really start to shift. I would always remember Jeff and Shaleia always reminding us, like, you are not your upset. You are just moving through the experience. And when you don't attach to it or identify with it, it makes it so much easier to move through it and really just be able to receive the lesson from it instead of drowning in this belief about yourself. And when you bring love to that space, that's you truly seeing that you are divine, that you are love, that you are already abundant and a child of God. And ultimately, that is really what helps dissipate sitting in the fear too long, or again, just like identifying with it. That's ultimately for me what it was I was identifying with the upset. So that's what caused so much fear, is like, am I a bad person? Am I not good? And like all these things would come up that of course again stems from childhood, like, oh, that was a bad thing, or you're not being a good girl right now. And so it came to having to learn how to avoid that. And I think that's where we all learn how to mask as well, is trying to be this perfect image so that we aren't judged or criticized. And if we're perfect, then we'll be loved. But a lot of the times we don't even receive that because it's not coming from a place of truth and authenticity. And so it's okay to allow yourself to move through this process with compassion and patience for yourself, and really work on for me, I really work on trying to see myself the way that God sees me. That's not always easy, but it's something that I do consciously try to work on, is like, does God see me this way, or is this what society is telling me and this is how I viewed myself for so long? Am I seeing myself from a distorted perspective, or am I truly seeing myself from love and divine and oneness with God? And so as I've done that, I've been able to really move through whatever fears come up and recognize, like, nope, it's just the next stepping stone. It's just the next block of building my empire and my heaven on earth with God. And so it makes it a lot easier to be able to move through those things instead of getting stuck in those places. I don't know if you heard my kid, but he's like, yes. After I said that.
Think. Oh, I lost my red thread. Yeah. I will get it again.
Yeah, I really love that as well. You know, I spend a lot of time these days, the past week, just soothing my inner child a lot. you know, maybe I've been lacking that in my actual childhood, I'm not sure. It is a lot of comfort and like just self-soothing that I'm getting better at these days, and it's immensely beneficial to really be there for, I guess, my inner child. You know, it's where the inner child healing work, the mirror exercise comes into play. And when you nurture yourself like that, you are well underway. You are basically moving through that, whatever you are currently going through as a challenge, and you're supporting yourself in grounding on the other side, you know, of the issue. And with that, also, like really feeling and visualizing that goal and that happy outcome. It's like where the law of attraction is really helpful as well. Feeling your dream reality, your dream fulfilled, and feeling that within yourself. And, you know, as we know that when within myself, I feel it as real, as realer than on the outside, that's when it will manifest, right? Because the inside creates the outside, right?
Yeah, this is something that I've actually been working with a lot of my clients around, is this hot and cold energy. And it stems from being inwardly and choosing what you want, but then entertaining what is happening outwardly because it hasn't shifted or changed yet. And then they go back to, it's not happening and nothing's working and I'm not doing enough and I'm not committed enough and whatever, I'm not loving myself enough because the outside hasn't quite shifted yet. And so then they go back in and heal it, and they keep going back and forth. This is hot and cold energy that a lot of them will tend to see within their twin flame journey. Like, why is it that they love me and they're so like warm and comforting, and then the next minute they're nowhere to be found? And it's ultimately because we don't allow ourselves to truly ground in the knowing of what we just created within ourselves. And then we look out into, I guess, the matrix or into the reality and like, oh, it's not shifting yet. And where did I go wrong? Instead of trusting that all of that is unfolding and putting your focus where God is asking you to put your focus. Jeff and Shaleia talk about like having a dance with God, where he'll have you look at things with your twin flame and you do your inner work and you heal, and you don't just sit there and wait for it to change. This was in a class too where Jeff talks about watching your union change and grow, just like watching grass grow. Like, you don't cut the grass and then sit there and wait all week and watch it grow and then cut it again. You cut it, you go do other things, and then a week later you're like, wow, that grew and I now have to cut the grass again. That's just like your union. So you'll heal it within and you let it be, and you go and do your life purpose, or you focus on your finances, or go do things that feel really great to you. And then that's naturally shifting as you're focusing and bringing love into other places. And so that has been really cool to start to ground deeper into, instead of getting into this loop and this fear of, I'm not doing enough, this is not coming, this is not happening. That's where a lot of people start to get lost. And that's why the persistence is so important, and really committing to the inner work and committing to trusting that only love is real, and that what you desires you too, and that it is being attracted to you as you are choosing love and you are choosing the desire and the choice that you want, and not wavering from that, not allowing that to leave your heart when it hasn't quite shown up yet. Sometimes we get like pieces of manifestations, like bits and pieces of it. But when you really ground into the knowing and the truth, and you've completely surrendered it, that's when the whole thing comes in, and usually comes in better than you could have even imagined, because that's just how great God is.
I love that, Kanisha. Beautifully said. It just reminded me like of also what Jeff and Shaleia shared today in a group class about the gardening, and that this process of perfecting is the perfection itself. And it's safe to focus only on that. And there's always something to do, right? To nurture yourself or where you need love. There is not much time to look on the outside when you really like focus on what God is guiding you to do. And yeah, it's also building the foundation, I feel, what is needed that you can go deeper, right? It's sometimes, or other couples, for example, in harmonious union, right? They share that suddenly when they reach that point, then only then the bigger challenges could come up, or the bigger fears, right? That you are ready then only to face that. So God is preparing you perfectly, like along your journey, which is laid out perfectly for you, that you can face everything when you're ready, right? So you never have to be afraid you would not be ready, because God will only show you what you're ready for and the challenges. So it's really like you build your foundation with every mirror exercise so that you can face everything till like in perfect union, where is no fear left at all. And that's the goal. And I'm also committed to that. Yeah. Kind of seeing, I remember when I got a map practitioner, like God showed me Ghostbusters, right? To look Ghostbusters, to really like kill the monsters, to not be afraid anymore. So it's kind of, you can see it as a funny challenge and not take fear so seriously.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Also, another thing I've been working through quite a bit lately is identifying with ego. It's related to identifying with the upset, listening to the voice of fear. And it ties into the belief in needing to be perfect in order to be good enough. So none of that's true. If you're not seeing yourself as you really are, as your divine self, then there's a misalignment there. You know it's misaligned because it's going to feel bad. So you can release the misbelief and bring in the truth that you are perfect and divine already. And watch your self-dialogue. Are you speaking kindly to yourself, or are you being nasty to yourself? I mean, the way you speak to yourself is the way your twin flame's going to speak to you. So if they're not around at the moment, check the way you're communicating with yourself, because would it be compassionate to have them around if they're communicating with you like that? You know, there's a lot of healing happening in the collective at the moment about self-dialogue and communication with the self. There's a lot of deepening there, and also making a new choice to be there for yourself. Maybe you haven't been there for yourself in the past, so it's time to show up for yourself now, because separation consciousness, the root of it has been a choice of separation from self, and that's got to be addressed. And it's okay to be working the process. It's okay to be wherever you're at. But it's like Kanisha was saying a few minutes ago, it's not a good idea to be going, oh yeah, I've healed a little bit over here, I'm going to look over there to see if anything's changed with them. If you're doing that, you're going to be disappointed every time, because it's an expectation. And you're kind of manifesting exactly what you don't want by going down that particular energetic thread. Yeah, you have to keep surrendering and re-surrendering completely. And that actually becomes easier and easier the further you go. I mean, that's a process within itself. In fact, you could say the entire journey is basically preparation for your big surrender. And that's okay. It's like, don't be hard on you if you feel like you should be further ahead, or you should have achieved this by now or that. None of that matters. It's fine to be where you are. Things can shift in an instant. There might not be as much work that needs doing as you might think there is. It's okay to give it to God and let things be as they are, just move through whatever arises, and you'll get there.
Beautiful.
It reminds me of the meme that we see in the open forum of the guy like peeking around the corner, and he was like, "Hi God, just checking in on the thing that I gave you." Like, I want to know how it's going instead of just surrendering and trusting the process. But yeah, you spoke on a lot of things there of really just letting go and knowing that it really comes down to trusting yourself, trusting God, trusting the work. And the work has proven itself. We have 2 couples who just got engaged this month alone, like amazing work. Like, I love that for them. But they didn't just wake up and was like, hey, we're going to be engaged. They had to work through fears. They had to work through the upsets that came up for them in order to come into a place of peace and harmony here, so that it really came from a place of love instead of, oh, this is just the next step, this is what we're supposed to do. It's like, yes, there's that, but it's like, let's really feel into, how do we feel about this? Does this feel like this is truly where God is guiding us? And if so, like, let's say yes. And if not, or if there's fears there, it's just because there's just more love to be brought into that space in order to ground into a firmer foundation of your harmonious union. And so I really love that we have that opportunity and a space to be able to do that. A space to be able to truly move through things that can look very just, I'm just going to use the word ugly. Like, some of these upsets that we have are very ugly at times. And so to have a community who, a lot of us are moving through the same thing. And when someone is brave enough to share and be vulnerable and share their healing, it truly does affect the rest of the community. And so I always have to remind myself that even though we all have our individual journeys, when we are truly sharing, we do help each other go deeper into these places with God. And ultimately, it does take a village to raise a harmonious union. And so sharing what you're moving through can feel very vulnerable, but you will receive so much support and love in order to be able to move through it and get to that next place.
Said, yeah, words have power, you know. And like Rachel mentioned, the self-talk, and yeah, it's true, you know. How are you talking to yourself? And I just appreciate that reminder there, to pay attention to that self-dialogue and be nice, be kind to the self, you know. Yeah, and from there, you can really enjoy the process, because there is such a foundational piece, is that connection to yourself. You know, if that is loving, you know, then you support that the Ascension engine, right? You give it the right fuel to work, to function. And then you can come into this kind of this flow state where you're just in the juice of it all, and you are productive, and it's just fun, and time flies. And that's when shifts happen, really, in my experience, because you're so in the juice, maybe your life purpose, you know, you do the inner work, you have that nice balance down, and then shifts happen, in my experience. And then we have these beautiful engagements happening. It's a really nice beginning of the Christmas time here.
Yeah, I love that what you shared. That's really like, I feel like, I also remember Jeff mentioned once that the mirror exercise is the vehicle on your spiritual journey, right? It catapults you like with every mirror exercise into higher vibrations. And I feel the main thing is about building trust, kind of what Kanisha shared with like sharing yourself and knowing that you're not the only one experiencing this right now. right? It's what I so much love about the community, that you feel not alone on your journey. And so you build this trust with God, of course, in truth, but also like with others around you, or like through coaching, or when you allow yourself to face the fears. I feel it's the whole journey, like just with God, that you can go deeper, right? Building deeper and deeper trust to go to these places where we got aware, like with clients, for example, or that you need to come to a certain point that you can access deeper memories, which you're not ready yet right now. So, and yeah, by sharing it and by feeling connected, kind of this right connection with God, with love, the easier it gets, like to ascend, yeah, and to really build the trust to know that only love is real.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. How is everyone feeling? Any other comments, any other thoughts? Do we feel complete with the message?
Well, I'm feeling complete.
Awesome. Well, then, thank you guys so much for this after church tea time. Thank you everyone for watching on Facebook and YouTube. And our next Sunday service will be this Sunday. So we will all see you there. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.